Chapter 1, The Dancing Fire in the Rice Field. Smell the scent of wet earth and dry straw. It is night in ancient Japan. The silence of the rice field is absolute, broken only by the rhythmic chirping of crickets and the gentle rustling of the wind in the golden ears of corn. You walk along a narrow path, the full moon hanging like a polished silver disc above the mountains. Suddenly, a light appears ahead. It is not the moon. It is not a flickering human torch. It is a bluish flame, cold and ethereal, floating a few inches from the ground. It dances. It zigzags. It seems alive. You stop, your heart racing at a primal rhythm. In the legends that grandparents whisper by the campfire, this light has a name, Kitsune, the fox fire. They say that where there is this fire, there is she. The Kitsune. The word simply means fox in the common language, but here, on the border between the visible and the invisible world, it carries the weight of centuries of mystery. She is no ordinary animal hunting rats in barns. She is a spirit. An entity that moves between the sacred devotion of Shinto shrines and the dangerous escapades of dark roads. Observe the light again. It splits into two, then three, as if multiple flames were playing hide and seek. Each flame represents a tale. And the more tales, the older and more powerful the fox. Some have only one or two, young spirits still learning the art of illusion. But those you see now, those that make the air vibrate with static electricity, can have 5, 7, or even 9. If you look closely, you might see a silhouette emerge from the mist behind the flames. It's not the form of a four-legged animal, at least not initially. It's the figure of a woman. Tall, elegant, wearing a silk kimono that seems to weave the night itself into its threads. Her beauty is mesmerizing, almost painful to behold, with eyes that gleam with an intelligence no human could possess. But beware. The Kitsune's beauty is your most perfect trap. She approaches, her steps making no sound on the mud. She smiles, and the smile is enigmatic, laden with secrets spanning millennia. She is the messenger of Inari, the great god of rice, fertility, and prosperity. In the red shrines scattered throughout Japan, fox statues guard the gates, wearing red bibs and holding keys or jewels, symbols of their divine power. They are revered, fed a burrage, fried tofu, treated as minor deities. However, the same creature that blesses the harvest can, the following night, drive a proud samurai to madness. Duality is her nature. She can be Zenko, the benevolent, celestial fox, protector of pure souls. Or she can be Yako, the wild, unpredictable field fox, who plays cruel tricks on those who show arrogance or greed. How do you know which one is before you now? The foxwoman inclines her head. Her eyes meet yours. In that instant, you feel an enormous weight, as if she were reading not only your thoughts, but your entire lineage, every mistake you made, every secret desire you hid. She knows. She always knew. Did you come seeking the light? Her voice doesn't leave her mouth, it resonates directly in your mind, soft as silk, cold as winter ice. Or did you come to flee the shadows? She steps forward, and the blue flames around her spin faster, forming a protective circle, or perhaps a prison. Her reflection in the still water of an irrigation ditch reveals something her human form conceals. Behind her elegant kimono, 9 majestic tails move independently, sweeping through the air like fans of liquid fire. 9 tails. A tenko. A celestial fox. This changes everything. An ordinary kitsune might deceive your eyes. A tenko can rewrite your reality. She has lived for 1,000 years, perhaps more. She has seen empires rise and fall like autumn leaves. She knows the names of the stars before they are given by men. Why is she here, on this simple path, speaking to you? Her smile widens, revealing teeth that seem too sharp for a human face. Mortals are so fragile. So trapped in the now. I want to show you what lies beyond the veil. She extends her hand. In her palm, a small sphere of blue fire pulses, warm and inviting. Touch, and see the world as I see it. If you touch, you will enter her illusion. If you refuse, you may offend a deity. The air grows heavy, laden with ozone and expectation. The crickets suddenly fall silent. Even the wind holds its breath. The kitsune waits. Her 9 tails gleam intensely in the darkness, illuminating the path into the forest, far from the safe trail, far from the village where human lanterns still shine. The fox's wedding begins when the sun rains, she whispers, quoting the old proverb. But today it doesn't rain. Today, only the truth burns. She turns her back and begins to walk towards the trees, waiting for you to follow. Floating flames precede her, marking the path like shooting stars stuck to the earth. You look at the safe trail behind you. Then you look at the blue light ahead. Instinct screams to run. Curiosity, however, plants your feet firmly on the ground. Who is she really? A goddess? A demon? Or something that human language simply cannot name? She stops at the edge of the forest and looks back, over her shoulder, with a gaze that mixes eternal boredom and malicious amusement. Come, little mortal. The night is long, and I have many stories to tell. Stories that will make you doubt your own name. With a fluid gesture of her sleeve, she extinguishes the moon. Total darkness descends, except for the trail of blue fire she leaves behind. You take your first step towards the forest. And as soon as your boot touches the grass on the other side of the trail, the sound of the village disappears completely. There are no more crickets. There is no more wind. Only the soft sound of the nine-tails sweeping through the air and the low laughter of the kitsune echoing in the ancient trees. The illusion has begun. And there is no turning back. Chapter 2, The Weight of 100 Winters. The darkness around you is not empty, it is dense, laden with the scent of flowers that only bloom under the moonlight and the ancient smell of moss on stones that have never seen the sun. You walk behind the blue light, but the forest seems to stretch and contract like a living lung. The kitsune does not walk, she floats slightly above the ground, her nine tails tracing intricate patterns in the air, like invisible calligraphers writing runes of power. Suddenly, she stops before a clearing where a single ancient cherry tree grows, its petals falling slowly, even without wind. She turns to you, and for the first time, the mask of the young woman falters. For a fraction of a second, you see not an eternal beauty, but the face of a wise old woman, wrinkled by time, with eyes that carry the weight of 1,000 winters. Then, the illusion recomposes itself, and she becomes the radiant maiden again. You wonder how I became this? Her voice echoes, now with a multiple resonance, as if several voices were speaking in unison. It wasn't a birth. It was an ascension. She sits at the base of the cherry tree, and her tails curl around her like a royal cloak of cold fire. Every fox begins ordinary. Running in the fields, hunting mice, fearing the dogs of men. We live our short and simple lives. But some of us refuse to accept the end. She raises a hand, and a holographic image of blue fire forms above her palm. You see in it the silhouette of a small red fox, running joyfully. Upon reaching 100 years, something awakens. The soul expands. The body learns to change. We gain the first extra tail. And with it, the gift of transformation. The image changes. The fox now has 2 tails, then 3. Each passing century adds a tail, each tail multiplying the power. 100 years for the first transformation. Another 100 for the second. It's a slow, steep, lonely climb. Many give up. Many die at the hands of hunters or in banal accidents before reaching the 5th tail. She gazes at her own 9 tails, and there is a deep sadness in her golden eyes. To reach 9, it takes 1,000 years. 1,000 years of silent observation. 1,000 years watching human generations be born, love, war, and die like ephemeral sparks. I saw this rice field become a virgin forest. I saw this mountain become an active volcano. I saw empires build cities of stone that later turned to dust. She leans forward, her eyes fixed on yours with an intensity that makes you feel small, insignificant, yet strangely important. That's why we play with you. It's not gratuitous cruelty. It's boredom. It's the attempt to feel something new in a world we already know inside and out. When we assume the form of a beautiful woman to seduce a samurai, or an old beggar to test the charity of a merchant, we are trying to understand human passion, the urgency of living when you know time is short. The image of fire shifts again. Now she shows a white fox, shining like the full moon, with 9 splendid tails radiating divine light. When we reach the 9th tail, we become tenko, celestial foxes. Our fur becomes pure gold or silver. We gain omniscience. We can hear all prayers, see all thoughts. We become almost goddesses, direct servants of Inari. She sighs, and the sound is like the wind passing through dry leaves. But even in divinity, loneliness remains. The more powerful I become, the less I can touch the world without breaking it. My true form is so dense with spiritual energy that it would burn any human who saw it directly. That's why I wear masks. That's why I create illusions. She rises gently, and the cherry tree in the background seems to bloom instantly, covering itself in pink blossoms in seconds, only to wither and lose all its leaves the next instant, in an accelerated cycle of life and death. I control time in this clearing. I can make a season last a minute or a century last a night. That is the power of a tenko. She walks towards you, and you feel the heat radiating from her tails, a heat that doesn't burn, but vibrates in your bones. But there is a price. For every tail I gain, something human is lost in me. The capacity to feel true hunger. The real fear of death. The innocence of first love. I become pure wisdom, pure magic, and pure solitude. Suddenly, the scene changes. The clearing disappears. You are now in the middle of a busy street in an ancient Japanese city, perhaps from the Edo period. People wearing colorful kimonos pass by you, but don't see you. You are a ghost in the crowd. This is a memory, says the Kitsune's voice, coming from all sides. I lived here. As a human. For 10 years. I married. I had children. I aged along with my mortal husband. And then, when he died, I had to disappear before they realized I didn't age like them. The vision changes again. Now you are on a battlefield, swords clashing, blood staining the earth. The Kitsune, in the form of a strategic general, watches from a hill, his eyes calculating every move, saving an entire army with a single gesture of his hand. I've been a heroine. I've been a villain. I've been the mother who feeds the hungry child and the demon who leads man to ruin. It all depends on what the world needs, or what I need to feel at that moment. The vision dissipates, and you are back in the dark forest, under the bare cherry tree. The Kitsune is right in front of you, her face serious. Now, do you understand? I am neither good nor evil. I am ancient. I am the living memory of this archipelago. And I have been watching you. She takes a step closer, and the ground beneath her feet begins to glow with ancient runes. I saw your journey. I saw your doubts. I saw the spark of curiosity that brought you here. That spark is rare. Most humans run in fear. You stayed. She smiles, and this time, the smile seems genuine, less laden with malice, more full of ancient curiosity. Therefore, I will offer you a gift. Not gold, not power. I will show you the truth behind one of my most famous illusions. The mansion that appears overnight. She points to the darkness beyond the trees. There, slowly, lights begin to flicker. Paper lanterns appear in the air, floating unsupported. Lacquered wooden gates materialize with a soft clicking sound. A curved roof rises against the night sky. In seconds, a luxurious and imposing mansion exists where before there was only forest. Enter, she invites, gesturing to open the gates. But remember, at dawn, all this will disappear. What you experience here will be real while it lasts, but it will leave no trace in the physical world. Except in your mind. She enters the mansion, her 9 tails sweeping the threshold of the gate. Come, let's see if you can distinguish what is real from what is dream. Because, for a 9-tailed Kitsune, that difference is merely a matter of perspective. The gate begins to close slowly behind you. The sounds of the forest fade completely, replaced by the soft sound of koto music emanating from inside the house. You are about to enter a world made entirely of magic and intention. Once inside, the rules of physics do not apply. Only the rules of the Kitsune. You place your hand on the wooden gate. It is warm, solid, real. But you know it's an illusion. The question is, do you trust it enough to enter? The gate gives one last creak and closes, leaving you at the entrance of the ghost mansion, with the Kitsune waiting in the inner courtyard, illuminated by lanterns that do not consume oil. Welcome to my hall, she says, her voice echoing off the still-forming walls. The party is just beginning. Chapter 3, The Feast of Tofu and Shadows. The air within the courtyard is perfumed with sandalwood incense and the unmistakable aroma of warm oil. Paper lanterns, floating without wires or candles, cast a soft, golden light upon the immaculate tatami mats. There is no wind here, but the leaves of the trees in the inner garden dance as if an eternal breeze caresses them. The Kitsune walks before you, her 9 tails now elegantly gathered behind her, resembling only the long train of an extravagant ceremonial kimono. She makes a graceful gesture, indicating red silk cushions arranged around a low black lacquer table. Sit down, she commands, with the voice of a perfect hostess. Hunger is a deadly sensation that I still enjoy observing. And today, I have prepared something special. On the table, dishes appear. Not by visible hands, but materializing from the very air, like mist condensing into fine ceramics. There are grilled fish that look like they were caught seconds ago, rice as white as snow, and, in the center, a golden, crispy pile of aburage, fried tofu. Your people say this is the food of the fox gods, she comments, serving you a piece with ivory chopsticks. It's the offering they leave at the Inari shrines. Funny, isn't it? You feed us tofu, and we give you prosperity. A fair trade between species. You take the tofu. It's warm, crackling slightly. As you bring it to your mouth, the flavor explodes, salty, sweet, rich in umami. It's real. Perfectly real. But your mind reminds you, this is an illusion. The mansion doesn't exist. The food doesn't exist. Don't overthink it, the Kitsune warns, reading your thoughts before you even formulate them. Her eyes gleam with amusement. If you convince your brain it's fake, the taste will disappear. Kitsune magic works through belief. If you accept the illusion as truth, it becomes truth for your senses. It's the power of perception shaping reality. She eats a piece too, closing her eyes in genuine pleasure. I've lived for 1,000 years, and I still love the taste of this simple tofu. Maybe because it reminds me of when I was just a little fox, stealing leftovers from temple kitchens, trembling with fear of being discovered. Suddenly, the atmosphere subtly changes. The walls of the room seem to breathe. The paintings on the sliding doors, shoji, come to life, painted birds fly from one panel to another, waves of blue paint break gently on the drawn beach. This is just the warm-up, she whispers. My illusions aren't just visual. They touch the soul. She stands and walks to the center of the hall. With a snap of her fingers, the lanterns go out. Total darkness fills the space for a second. Then, a bluish light begins to emanate from the tips of her 9 tails, which have freed themselves from her kimono and now float majestically around her. Meet the Kitsune, she says. The blue flames expand, forming spheres of cold fire that dance across the ceiling. They don't burn, they illuminate memories. In each flame, you see projected scenes. One shows a proud young samurai following a similar light in the forest, only to fall into a precipice that didn't exist before. Another shows a mother weeping over an empty cradle, while a fox laughs in the shadows, a cruel yako taking a child as a substitute. A third shows a grand temple, with thousands of people praying, and a white fox seated on the altar, receiving offerings with divine dignity, a zenko blessing the harvest. Benevolence and malice, she narrates, her voice echoing like a chorus. Zenko and yako. 2 sides of the same coin. I am both. Depending on how you treat me, I am your protector or your ruin. If you respect nature, if you honor the ancient pacts, I am your guardian. If you are arrogant, greedy, if you think you can dominate the spirit world, then I am your nightmare. One of the spheres of fire approaches you. Inside it, you see your own reflection. But it's not you as you are now. It's you, aged, alone, wandering through a completely changed forest, confused, murmuring the names of people who died centuries ago. This is the fate of those who attempt reverse possession, she warns, her voice hardening. Some of my younger, less wise sisters like to enter human bodies. The Kitsunetsuki. They take the mind, speak ancient languages, reveal hidden secrets. The possessed gain knowledge, but lose themselves. When the fox leaves, the human rarely survives the madness of the emptiness left behind. She pushes the sphere away with a gentle breath, and the vision of your grim future dissipates in smoke. But I don't need to possess you to change your mind. A conversation is enough. A feast is enough. She sits down again, and the flames subside, transforming once more into the light of an ordinary lantern. The mansion seems more solid now, more real. You hear the sound of water rushing in a stream that wasn't there before. You feel the warmth of the ground beneath your buttocks. Why do I do this? She asks, pouring sake into a small cup. Why do I create mansions that vanish at dawn? Why do I deceive travelers? She sips the sake, glancing at you over the rim of the cup. To remind you that the world isn't as solid as you think. That reality is fragile. That there are mysteries among the trees that your logic can't explain. If I didn't create these illusions, you would completely forget the spiritual world. You would become ashes, empty, obsessed only with matter and gold. She places the cup on the table with a soft click. Now, we have a special guest arriving. Someone who wasn't invited by me, but who can smell my magic from miles away. The sound of heavy footsteps echoes in the outside corridor. They aren't light footsteps like hers. They are leather boots, heavy, determined. The sound of a drawn sword cuts through the air, sharp and menacing. A demon hunter, whispers the Kitsune, a dangerous smile curving her lips. Or perhaps just a very stupid samurai who heard rumors of a fox witch in this region. She looks at you, her eyes gleaming with expectation. He comes to kill me. Or to capture me and sell my pelts. What will we do, little mortal? Will you hide? Will you fight by my side? Or will you let my illusion deal with him? Footsteps stop outside the sliding door. A shadow blocks the light of the lanterns. A gruff voice shouts, "Come out, demon! I know you're there. Your treacherous light has been seen by miles." The Kitsune doesn't move. She only smiles, and her 9 tails begin to slowly twitch, like snakes about to strike. "Let's see if his blade can cut through a dream," she says softly. "Prepare yourself. The party's over. The war has begun." The shoji door is ripped from its tracks with a violent blow, flying into the room and shattering into hundreds of fragments of wood that, upon touching the floor, transform into dry autumn leaves. On the threshold, standing against the starry night, is an armed warrior, his armor gleaming, his eyes fixed on the 9-tailed fox. He doesn't see the luxurious mansion. To him, what does he see? A dilapidated hut in the middle of a dark forest? Or does he see its true spiritual form? The warrior points his sword. "Fox! Your illusion ends today." The Kitsune rises slowly. The air around her begins to vibrate, distorting the light. "Illusion," she laughs, a blood-curdling sound. "My dear samurai, you are the one living in an illusion. Thinking your sword has power over eternity." She raises a hand. The shadows in the corner of the room begin to lengthen, taking the forms of wolves, dragons, creatures that never existed on Earth. "Show him, visitor," she says, looking at you. "Show him what is real." The warrior steps forward, shouting a protective mantra. The blade gleams with a sacred talisman. The Kitsune does not retreat. She opens her mouth, and instead of a scream, a jet of pure blue fire erupts, not to burn, but to blind, to confuse, to rewrite the attacker's perception. The ground beneath the samurai's feet transforms into deep water. He stumbles, swimming in the dry air, choking on non-existent liquid. "Where am I?" he cries out in despair, pounding against the water that is merely air. The Kitsune walks toward him, stepping on the lake as if it were solid ground. "You are where your mind allows you to be," she says. "In the labyrinth of your own guilt." She looks at him again. "See how easy it is to break a proud man. He came to kill a monster, and now he fights against ghosts he himself created." But then, something unexpected happens. The samurai closes his eyes. He stops fighting the invisible water. He takes a deep breath, ignoring the panic. "Inari Amikami, protect me from illusion," he murmurs, clutching the talisman to his chest. "Only the truth exists." The water instantly vanishes. The samurai falls to the tatami floor, panting but lucid. He looks at the Kitsune, and for the first time, he sees her clearly, without the distortions of fear. He sees her terrifying beauty, the 9 tails, the ancient eyes. "I see you," he says, his voice trembling but firm. "Not as a monster. As a spirit." The Kitsune stops, surprised. Her flames diminish slightly. "Interesting," she murmurs. "A mortal who can see through my veil with faith alone." She inclines her head respectfully for the first time that night. "Perhaps you don't deserve to die today, samurai. Perhaps you deserve a lesson." She gestures, and the mansion begins to tremble. The walls become transparent, revealing the dark forest outside. Dawn is approaching. The horizon begins to lighten with a purple hue. "The sun rises," she warns. "And with the sun, my dream castle shall fall. If you are here when the first ray touches the ground, you will be trapped forever in my dream." She looks at you and the samurai. "Run. Now. Before reality crushes you." The mansion begins to disintegrate into particles of light. The ground disappears beneath their feet, leaving them suspended in the forest air. "Go," shouts the Kitsune, her voice beginning to echo as if from afar. "Find your way back. Remember, what you learned here is real, even if the house isn't." The samurai grabs her arm. "This way. Quickly." They leap from the floating platform just as it dissolves into mist. They land on the damp grass of the royal forest. Behind them, the mansion's light abruptly goes out. Nothing remains. No wood, no lanterns, no tofu. Just an empty clearing and a 9-tailed fox sitting beneath the cherry tree, watching them leave as the first ray of sunlight gilds its tips. She nods, an almost imperceptible gesture. "Until the next life," whispers the wind, carrying her voice. You and the samurai run through the forest, your hearts pounding, your minds filled with questions. Who was that man? Why did he spare her life? And what will happen when history repeats itself? But the journey isn't over. The Kitsune mentioned something about an ancient pact that's about to be broken. Something bigger than a simple hunt. The samurai stops, panting, and looks at you. You spoke with her. You entered the mansion. What did she say? What does she want?" Before you can answer, a thunderclap rumbles in the clear sky. It's not stormy weather. It's a sign. "The balance is shifting," says the samurai, gripping his sword with renewed strength. "The wild foxes are organizing. Something big is coming." And in the distance, you hear the Kitsune's whistle again, but this time, it sounds like a warning. Chapter 4, The Division of the Fox Souls. The thunder in the clear sky echoes like a temple gong, vibrating in your bones. The samurai, whose name you now know to be Kenji, sheathes his sword with a dry snap, his eyes sweeping the line of trees with renewed tension. "That wasn't an ordinary storm," he says, his voice deep. "It was a warning. The Yako are moving." You look at Kenji. He's no longer the arrogant warrior who stormed the illusory mansion hours ago. The humility of having been defeated by his own mind, and then spared by the Kitsune's compassion, has changed something in his posture. He walks with less noise, respecting the ground beneath his feet. "You need to understand," Kenji explains, as you both begin to walk briskly in the direction that instinct, or perhaps the fox's residual magic, indicates. The Kitsune are not a single clan. They are divided by nature and purpose. He points north, where the mountains rise majestically, shrouded in perpetual mist. There lie the shrines of Inari. There lie the Zenko, the benevolent foxes. They are celestial, direct servants of the god of rice. Their fur is white or golden. They bring rain for the harvest, ward off pests, protect the villages. If you see a Zenko, it's a sign of good fortune. They are the guiding light. Then he points west, to the dense, dark forests where the sun barely penetrates. And there reign the Yako. The field foxes. Wild. Unpredictable. Some are merely mischievous, stealing food or playing tricks on weary travelers. But others are vengeful. They harbor centuries-old grudges against humans who destroyed their homes, who killed their families for sport. When a Yako decides to wreak havoc, she doesn't just create harmless illusions. She brings possession. Madness. Real fire. Kenji stops abruptly, clutching his arm. The Kitsune we encountered, the nine-tailed one. She's a Tenko. A celestial. She transcended that division. She sees the whole picture. But if she alerted us to the Yako, it means something is uniting them. Something so big that even the wild foxes are organizing under a common banner. As he speaks, the surrounding environment seems to subtly shift. The forest, once silent and respectful, now seems hostile. Branches intertwine like bony fingers trying to grasp his clothes. The wind howls with voices that sound like distant laughter. Suddenly, a red light appears among the trees ahead. It's not the cool, elegant blue of the celestial Kitsune. It's a blood red, pulsating, aggressive. Evil Kitsunebi, Kenji whispers, his hand returning to the hilt of his sword. There are many. A pack. From the shadows, figures emerge. They are neither beautiful women nor wise old men. They are gigantic foxes, the size of horses, with fur as sharp as needles and eyes that gleam with pure hatred. They each have 2, 3, 4 tails. And they all surround you, growling softly, a sound that makes your chest tremble with primal fear. In the center of the circle, a human figure emerges. It is a man, dressed in dirty rags, but his eyes are completely yellow, with vertical fox-like pupils. He smiles, and his mouth opens wide, revealing rows of overly sharp teeth. "Look what we have here," says the man, his voice a strange hybrid of human and animal, hissing and guttural. A samurai who played house with the great lady, and a foolish mortal who thinks he can walk among us without paying the price. It is a case of Kitsunetsuki. Possession. The man is no longer himself. A powerful Yako has taken over his body, using him as a puppet to speak to the physical world. "We know what she did," continues the possessed man, pacing in circles around you. "Tenko sparing your life was a mistake. She's getting soft. Old. She forgot that humans are parasites. They burn our forests. They poison our streams. They kill our offspring." The man stood before Kenji, tilting his head at an unnatural angle. "We will collect the debt. Every village in this region will burn tonight. Not illusory fire. Real fire. And when the humans run in desperation, we will be there, in the shadows, waiting to finish the job." Kenji stepped forward, his aura shifting from defensive to offensive. "As long as I breathe, no village will be burned. I serve the Emperor and honor the kami. I will not allow demons to harm the innocent." The possessed man laughed, a shrill sound that sent birds fleeing from the trees in panic. "Demons? We are the justice of the earth. You are the invaders." He raised his hand, and the giant foxes around him prepared to pounce. Their claws scratched the ground, kicking up earth. The smell of sulfur and burnt fur became unbearable. "But wait," said the possessed man, his yellow eyes fixing on you. You smell of her. Of Tenko. You were in her hall. You ate her tofu." He approaches you, ignoring Kenji's sword pointed at your throat. "She gave you something, didn't she? A memory? A fragment of power?" You feel a sudden warmth in your pocket. Something you didn't even know was there. You reach in and pull out a small object, a bright white feather that seems made of solid light. It's a gift from the Kitsune, given discreetly during the banquet, when you thought it was just a table decoration. Touching the feather, the air around you changes. The Yako foxes recoil, snarling in pain, as if the feather's light burns them. "A feather of truth," the possessed one spits, covering his eyes. "She gave you a celestial weapon. Impossible. She never gives such things to mortals." Kenji looks at you, surprised. "What is this?" "It's the proof," you reply, feeling your confidence grow as you hold the feather. "She didn't spare us out of pity. She prepared us." The possessed one screams, retreating into the shadows. "Kill us. Before they use this to banish us." The giant foxes leap simultaneously. For tons of muscle, claws, and supernatural fury descend upon you. Kenji draws his sword, the steel singing in the air. "Stay behind me." But you know that the sword alone will not suffice against so many. You raise the white feather. It explodes in light, not blinding, but purifying. A wave of golden energy expands from your hand, forming an invisible barrier. The foxes collide with the barrier and are thrown back, howling in pain. The light touches the possessed man, and he falls to his knees, screaming as the entity within him struggles to remain. Get out, you command, surprised by your own authority. The voice doesn't sound entirely yours, there's an echo to it, an ancient resonance. By the will of Inari and Tenko, leave this body. The man convulses. A thick, black smoke begins to pour from his mouth, his ears, his pores. The smoke condenses into the form of a red fox, thin and wounded, with only 2 tails. It looks at you with a mixture of hatred and terror, then darts into the forest, disappearing into the darkness. The man collapses to the ground, unconscious, but alive. The possession is over. The other Yako foxes, seeing their spiritual leader expelled and facing the celestial light, hesitate. They growl, stamp their paws on the ground, but dare not attack again. Slowly, one by one, they retreat into the shadows, dissolving into the darkness of the forest until only the 2 of you and the unconscious man remain. The light from the feather diminishes, becoming soft again. You put it in your pocket, your heart racing. Kenji takes a deep breath, wiping the sweat from his brow. Unbelievable, he murmurs. A mortal commanding a Tenko? This has never been recorded in the chronicles. He helps you lift the possessed man, who now regains consciousness, confused and weak, with no memory of what happened. We need to take him to the nearest village, Kenji says. And we need to warn the priest of the local shrine. The Yako are organized. This was just a scout. The main attack will come soon. As you carry the man, you look out into the dark forest. You sense that the 9-tailed Kitsune is watching, hidden in the shadows, silently approving of your actions. She said the balance was shifting, you remember. Have the Yako found a leader? Someone capable of uniting all the wild foxes against humanity? Kenji nods grimly. There are ancient legends. Legends of a black Kitsune, banished 1,000 years ago for trying to usurp the throne of Inari. They say she's returned. That she's gathering the Yako for all-out war. If that's true, there will be no safe sanctuary. Not for humans, nor for the Zenko. The path to the village is long and silent. With each step, you feel the weight of responsibility growing. You are no longer just a lost observer in the forest. You are a bearer of the Tenko's light. You are part of this ancient war. As you reach the first houses in the village, the lantern lights are already being lit, people preparing dinner, oblivious to the danger rumbling in the nearby forest. Kenji stops at the village entrance. Here, we're safe for now. But tomorrow we need to find Tenko again. Only she knows how to stop the black Kitsune before the fire consumes everything. He looks at you. Will you come with me? Knowing that the next encounter might be against an army of demons. Before you can answer, a bell rings in the small village shrine. It's not the gentle tolling of evening prayer. It's a frantic, desperate peal. Someone runs towards you, a farmer with a face pale with terror. Samurai! Samurai! The river is on fire. And there's a woman in black standing in the middle of the flames, laughing. Kenji and you exchange a look. It has begun. Let's go, says Kenji, drawing his sword again. War has come. You run towards the river, where the night sky is being painted orange and red. It's not the reflection of the sun. It's real fire, burning on the water, defying logic, defying nature. And in the center of the liquid hell, the silhouette of a woman with tails as black as night awaits, her eyes gleaming with a promise of total destruction. The black Kitsune has awakened. And she has not come to play. Chapter 5, The River That Burns Black. The heat doesn't come from the sun, nor from an ordinary campfire. It's a burning cold, a thermal contradiction that makes the air vibrate with static. You run alongside Kenji, your lungs burning with smoke that doesn't smell of wood, but of ancient sulfur and distilled hatred. Upon reaching the riverbank, the scene defies all logic of nature. The water doesn't boil, it crackles. Black flames, dense as oil, dance across the liquid surface, licking the wooden bridges without immediately consuming them, but leaving them charred and twisted into grotesque shapes. The fish don't flee, they float belly up, their eyes transformed into small spheres of black fire. And in the center of this chaos, standing on the liquid flames as if walking on solid glass, is she. Not the ethereal beauty of the Tenko you encountered in the forest. This woman is tall, wearing black silk rags that seem made of condensed smoke. Her hair is long, disheveled, floating like seaweed on an invisible tide. And behind her, there are not 9 golden tails. There are 9 black, pointed tails that move like shadow whips, tearing through the air and leaving trails of pure darkness. The black Kitsune, Kenji whispers, his voice tense. Kuro no Kitsune. The banished one. The entity turns to you. Her face is terribly beautiful, distorted by an arrogance that transcends humanity. Her eyes have no irises, they are vacuum pits, black holes that suck the light around them. Ah, Tenko's little toys have arrived, she says. Her voice sounds like 1,000 overlapping voices, a chorus of laments and maniacal laughter. I thought my older sister had learned her lesson after 1,000 years of exile. But I see she's still playing at protecting ants. She raises a hand, and the black flames in the river rise, forming giant columns that curve toward the sleeping village just behind you. You call this home? I call it an infestation. Every house built upon a sacred root, every rice paddy planted where a spiritual tomb once stood, all will be ash. And this time, there will be no illusion to save you. This is the real fire. The fire that consumes the soul. Kenji steps forward, raising his sword. The blade trembles, not from fear, but reacting to the malevolent presence. You will not touch this village. In the name of Inari and the Emperor, I command you to retreat. The black kitsune laughs, a sound that makes the ground tremble and the village lanterns go out simultaneously. Orders? From an ephemeral human? I existed before your ancestors learned to make fire, samurai. I saw your god Inari born as a minor spirit of rice. I am the memory of the wounded earth. I am vengeance. With a swift flick of her wrist, she unleashes a wave of black fire toward Kenji. The warrior rolls to the side, but the heat of the flame is so intense that his armor begins to melt at the edges. He cries out in pain, but quickly rises, positioning himself between the monster and the village. Run, he shouts to you. Take the villagers to the mountains. I'll hold her off. Alone, you ask, horrified. She'll kill you. It's my duty, he replies, tears welling in his eyes from the smoke. Go. But you don't run. Your hand goes to your pocket, where Tenko's white feather pulsates with a warm, comforting light. You feel a distant connection, like a silver thread linking your mind to that of the nine-tailed fox you met at the mansion. She's there, watching, waiting. You remember her words, magic works through belief. If you believe the feather is just a feather, it won't do anything. But if you believe she is an extension of Tenko's will. You close your eyes for a second, ignoring the chaos around you. You visualize the mansion of light, the golden tofu, the kitsune's wise smile. You summon her image in your mind with all the strength of your faith. Tenko, you shout, not as a cry for help, but as a call for alliance. We need you. Not to fight for us, but to show us the truth. You open your eyes and raise the feather high. Illusion or reality? Let's see which fire is stronger. A column of white and gold light explodes from the feather, rising to the heavens like a beacon. It cuts through the darkness of the night, illuminating the black river with a purifying clarity. Where the light touches the black flames, they hiss and recede, dissolving into harmless smoke. The black kitsune covers her face, howling in pain. Heavenly light! How dare you? Did that foolish old woman give you direct power? She leaps from the water, landing on the bank with an impact that cracks the earth. Her 9 black tails expand, forming a barrier of shadows attempting to stifle the feather's light. Your light is weak, deadly. It's just a reflection. My darkness is absolute. The two forces collide. Light against shadow. White against black. The air between them distorts, creating shockwaves that topple nearby trees. Kenji, partially protected by the light, takes advantage of the distraction to advance, his sword now gleaming with a golden reflection borrowed from the feather. Now, he shouts, charging at the black kitsune. The entity dodges the blow with supernatural speed, its claws scratching Kenji's chest and leaving smoldering marks. But it can't focus on you. The feather's light blinds it, forcing it to retreat step by step towards the middle of the river. This isn't over, she roared, her voice trembling with rage. I have an army. The Yako are coming from every province. A single light can't stop the tide of night. She slammed her 9 tails into the water, creating an explosion of black vapor that engulfed the entire river. When the vapor dissipated seconds later, she vanished. The black flames instantly extinguished, leaving only the dark, cold water, teeming with dead fish and the acrid smell of temporary defeat. Silence returned to the riverbank, broken only by Kenji's coughs and the confused cries of the villagers who began to emerge from their homes. Kenji fell to his knees, clutching the wound on his chest. You rushed to him, helping him to his feet. You did it, he gasped, looking at the feather that still glowed softly in his hand. You drove her away. For now, you corrected, feeling the weight of the prophecy. She said she has an army. This was just a show of force. Suddenly, the feather in his hand grew cold. The light dims until it becomes opaque. A weak, interrupted mental message reaches your mind. It's Tenko's voice, tired, urgent, come, to the main shrine, atop Mist Mountain. The ancient seal is breaking. She seeks the mirror stone. If she finds it, she can rewrite reality, not just illusions. The connection is cut. Kenji looks at the mountain rising to the north, its peak hidden by perpetual clouds. The Inari shrine, he says, understanding. That's where the sacred stone is kept. If the black kitsune manages to steal it or destroy it, then all illusions will become real, you ask, horrified. The black fire, the monsters, the chaos, everything would become permanent? Worse, Kenji replies, struggling to his feet. She could erase human existence from this world. Turn Japan back into a wild, bloody forest, with none of us left. He looks at the frightened villagers, then at you. We have no time to lose. We need to reach the shrine before her. But the climb is dangerous, and the Yako will be waiting on the trails. You tuck the feather into your pocket, feeling its physical weight now, an anchor of hope in a world that seems to be crumbling. Then let's climb, you say, adjusting your clothes. We can't let the night win. Kenji smiles, a painful but determined smile. You have the heart of a samurai, my friend. Let's go. May Inari guide us. As you begin to walk towards the base of the mountain, the sky above begins to fill with distant red dots. They are not stars. They are the lanterns of an army of foxes, marching in the darkness, climbing the slopes towards the same destination. The race against time has begun. And the prize is the very existence of reality. Chapter 6, The Stairway of 1,000 Red Gates. The ascent begins not with stone steps, but with an endless row of red torii gates. Thousands of them. They rise from the base of the mountain and spiral upwards to the summit, which disappears into the mist, forming a crimson tunnel that seems to have no end. It is the sacred path to the Inari Shrine, the spiritual backbone of Japan. Kenji walks ahead, his breath heavy, his hand pressed against the wound on his chest where the black kitsune's claws left marks that won't stop bleeding a thin black smoke. Don't stop, he warns, his voice hoarse. If we stop inside the gates, the shadows might catch us. Their magic is weak under the light of the torii, but only while we're moving. You look back. The forest below is alive with shimmering red dots. The Yako army is rising. They don't run, they glide, flowing like a river of spilled blood, winding around trees, climbing rocks with unnatural speed. The sound they make isn't footsteps, but thousands of fingernails scraping wood and stone, a noise that makes your teeth ache. They're close, you whisper. Then run faster, Kenji orders, though he himself is staggering. Suddenly, the first gate ahead trembles. The normally vibrant red wood begins to darken, staining black as if an infection were spreading through the sacred paint. Laughter echoes through the tunnel of gates, coming from all directions at once. Do you think these pieces of wood will stop us? A distorted voice shouts. We are the earth. We are the roots that break the stone. From the ground, between the torii pillars, sprout dark, thorny vines. They grow instantly, wrapping around Kenji's legs, pulling him down. Kenji, you cry, reaching out. He cuts the vines with his sword, but for every one he cuts, two more sprout in its place. The shadows of the gates come alive, transforming into foxes made of pure darkness, leaping from the sides, blocking the path. The feather. Kenji cries, being dragged to the ground by three shadowy creatures. Use the feather to clear the path. You draw the feather of truth. It's cold again, almost dead. The battle at the river drained much of its energy. You hold it tightly, closing your eyes, trying to rekindle the connection with Tenko. Please, you think desperately. We need light. We need you. Nothing happens. The feather remains opaque. The shadow foxes approach, their black eyes gleaming with hunger. Kenji fights bravely, but he is weakened by the black kitsune's poison. He falls to his knees, surrounded. End of the line, humans, growls the leader of the shadows, a giant fox with 4 tails made of smoke. The sanctuary will be ours before dawn. In this moment of utter despair, the wind shifts. A faint scent of fried tofu and cherry blossoms fills the sulfur-tainted air. The sky above the torii gates, previously shrouded in dark clouds, parts slightly, allowing a beam of silvery moonlight to descend directly upon you. Within this beam of light, a figure appears, seated atop the next gate, swinging her legs casually. It is she. Tenko. The 9-tailed kitsune. But she is not in her dazzling human form. She is in her true form, a gigantic fox, her white fur gleaming like liquid silver, her 9 golden tails radiating a light that instantly makes shadows recede. You are slow, she says, her voice resonating not in the ears, but directly into the souls of all present. You let the filth into my garden. She leaps from the gate. Upon touching the ground, a shockwave of golden energy explodes from her body. The black vines disintegrate into ash. The shadow foxes howl and dissolve, unable to bear the purity of her presence. Tenko walks to Kenji and gently blows on his wound. Black smoke rises from his flesh, and his skin closes, leaving only a silvery scar. Rise, little warrior, she says. It is not yet time to rest. She turns to you, her ancient eyes meeting yours. The feather lost its charge because you doubted. You thought you were alone. Remember, as long as there is faith, there is power. I am the manifestation of that faith. She touches the feather in her hand with her snout. Immediately, it explodes in white and gold flames, brighter than before. Now, let's go. My dark sister has already reached the upper gates. She is trying to break the mirror seal. Tenko begins to run, ascending the steep staircase with supernatural ease. Kenji and you follow her, renewed by her presence. Now, the path opens. Where there were monsters before, now there is only light. The Yako that attempt to attack are repelled by an invisible barrier of divine authority. As they ascend, Tenko speaks, her voice calm despite the urgency. The mirror stone is not merely an object. It is the focal point where the spiritual and physical worlds meet. It was on it that I engraved the laws of balance 1,000 years ago. If Kurano Kitsune breaks it, she will not only rewrite reality, she will erase the distinction between dream and wakefulness. Chaos will become the new permanent order. Why does she do this? Asks Kenji, breathless, as they leap over a fallen gate. What is the ultimate goal? Tenko is silent for a moment, her ears drooping slightly. Pain, she finally replies. She carries the pain of centuries of neglect. When humans began to forget the spirits, when they stopped leaving offerings, when they burned the forests without asking permission, her heart hardened. She believes that the only way to save nature is to eliminate human civilization completely. She wants to turn back the clock to the age of gods, where there were no cities, only wild forests. But that would kill millions, you exclaim. She knows, says Tenko, her voice sad. And she accepts that cost. To her, humanity is a virus. And she is the cure. They arrive at a high plateau. Ahead, the main shrine is visible, an ancient and majestic building made of dark wood and copper tiles, situated on the mountain peak. But something is wrong. The shrine is enveloped in a storm of black lightning. The sky above it spins in an unnatural vortex. In the center of the shrine's courtyard, before the closed door of the inner hall where the mirror stone is kept, stands the black Kitsune. She is not alone. Hundreds of Yako are gathered behind her, forming a wall of hatred. Kurano Kitsune turns as she senses your approach. She smiles, and the smile is one of anticipated victory. Sister, she says, her voice cutting through the thunder. You came to witness the end of the human world? How kind of you. She raises her hands. In her palms, a pulsating sphere of darkness grows, distorting the light around it. The seal is already cracking. One more blow, and it will all be over. Tenko stops, her 9 tails bristling, ready for the final battle. Not today, sister. As long as I breathe, the balance will be maintained. Then stop breathing, retorts the black Kitsune, launching the sphere of darkness directly at them. The collision of energies is imminent. The air becomes so dense that it's difficult to breathe. Kenji prepares his sword, looking at you. We need to reach the sanctuary gate while they fight. Only someone with a purified feather can reinforce the seal from within. Tenko glances back quickly, her eyes conveying a silent message, go. I'll hold her off. With a roar that shakes the entire mountain, the celestial fox charges at the black fox. The two entities collide in midair, an explosion of golden light and black shadow engulfing the sanctuary courtyard. Lightning streaks across the sky, thunder explodes incessantly. This is your chance. While the two fox goddesses wage an epic battle that seems capable of destroying the mountain, you and Kenji run along the sides, taking advantage of the distraction. The smaller Yako try to intercept you, but they are too busy cheering for their leader or defending themselves from the fallout of the celestial battle. You reach the steps of the sanctuary. The massive wooden door is cracked, leaking a pulsating black light from within. Here! Kenji shouts, holding the door open with difficulty as the pressure from the inside pushes it outward. Quick! Reinforce the seal. You enter the dark hall. In the center, on a stone pedestal, floats the mirror stone. It is no longer reflective, it is covered in black veins that spread like cracks in glass about to shatter. You run to the pedestal, raising the white feather. By the will of Inari, you shout. By the balance of the world. You touch the feather to the cracked stone. Immediately, a sharp pain runs through your arm. The stone drinks the feather's light, sucking its life energy. You feel your vision blur, your strength rapidly dwindling. It's not enough, you realize with horror. The crack is too deep. I need more power. Outside, the roar of battle intensifies. A cry of pain echoes. Is it Tenko's voice? Is she losing? If Tenko falls, the stone will shatter before you can heal it. You need a miracle. Or a sacrifice. Tenko's voice echoes in your mind, weak and distant. Give everything, hold nothing back, the truth demands a price. You look at the stone, then at the door where Kenji struggles to keep the shadows at bay. You understand what needs to be done. The feather is not just a tool, it's a conduit. And you are the battery. You close your eyes, embrace the stone with both hands, and let the light flow from you, not just from the feather, but from your own essence, from your memories, from your life. Take it, you whisper. Take everything I have. The room explodes in blinding white light. Chapter 7, The Mirror That Reflects the Soul. Light doesn't burn, it dissolves. When you embrace the mirror stone, you don't feel physical pain, but a sensation of detachment, as if your memories, your fears, and your dreams were being pulled out of your body through your fingertips. The dark hall of the sanctuary disappears. You are no longer on the aged wooden floor. You float in a white, infinite space, without ceiling or floor. Before you, the mirror stone is no longer a cracked stone. It has expanded into an ocean of liquid mercury, calm and terrifying. In this reflection, you don't see your face. You see everything. You see the black Kitsune, Kuro, not as the monster that attacked the village, but as she was 1,000 years ago, a small black fox, weeping over the ashes of her den, burned by human farmers who laughed as the forest burned. You feel her pain. It's not metaphorical pain, it's a physical agony that pierces your chest. It is the loneliness of being forgotten. It is the rage of seeing ancient spirits replaced by cold stone temples. They betrayed us, whispers Kuro's voice, coming from the mirror itself. They promised respect and brought iron. They promised offerings and brought flames. Why should I spare them? Why should balance favor those who only know how to destroy? The image changes. Now you see Tenko, your white sister. You see her sacrificing her own tails, century after century, to protect the same humans who cut down her trees. You see the exhaustion in her golden eyes, the weight of maintaining a pact that humanity has repeatedly broken. Because hope is rarer than perfection, replies Tenko's voice, soft but firm. One mistake does not erase all the good. A child who plants a tree is worth more than 1,000 lumberjacks. The cycle must continue, even if it hurts. You are trapped between these two truths. The justice of vengeance and the mercy of redemption. The mirror stone trembles, its black cracks throbbing like diseased veins. It is absorbing your life energy to decide which truth will prevail. If you succumb to Kuro's pain, the human world will be swept away. If you succumb only to Tenko's pity, the cycle of destruction will continue with impunity. It's not their choice, you realize, your voice echoing in this white void. It's our choice. You understand now. The stone doesn't need more divine power, it needs a human perspective. Someone who has seen the Yako's cruelty, but also Kenji's bravery. Someone who has eaten the tofu of illusion and felt the truth behind it. You focus all your will on the white feather you still hold, now fused to your hand. The world isn't perfect, you shout at the mirror. We are flawed, greedy, and blind. But we are also capable of change. Look. You project your own memories onto the mirror. Not the great battles, but the small moments. The farmer who left rice at the shrine before the harvest. The child who saved a run-over fox cub. Kenji, bleeding. Protecting a village that wasn't even his. You yourself, choosing to enter the illusory mansion despite your fear. It shows that humanity is not a monolithic block of destruction. There is light in the shadows. There is regret. There is evolution. The black cracks on the mirror's surface begin to shine. Not with Tenko's golden light, nor with Kuro's darkness. But with a new light, silvery and warm. The light of mutual understanding. This, Kuro's voice falters, full of disbelief. This is real? They can feel remorse? Some do, you answer, with invisible tears streaming down your spiritual face. And it's for those few that it's worth trying again. Destroying everything would be easy. Forgiving and rebuilding, that's what's difficult. That's what's true. The mirror trembles violently. The black veins recede, dissolving into liquid silver. The surface smooths, becoming perfect once more. The reflection now shows not the painful past, but a possible future, forests and cities coexisting, humans learning to hear the whisper of the leaves, foxes watching from the shadows without hatred, only curiosity. The connection breaks abruptly. You are thrown back to reality, falling to your knees on the cold floor of the sanctuary. The mirror stone floats serenely above the pedestal, shining with a soft, steady light. The cracks have vanished. Outside, the din of battle has ceased. The silence that follows is heavy, absolute. Kenji rushes into the hall, his sword sheathed, his face covered in soot but his eyes wide with astonishment. What happened? He gasps. The storm stopped. The dark clouds dissipated. The sky is clearing. You rise, trembling, looking at your hand. The white feather has disappeared, it has been entirely consumed by the stone. But you feel light, renewed, as if you've run a marathon and slept for a week at the same time. We fixed it, you whisper. Not forcefully. Truly. You leave the shrine. The scene outside is one of surreal peace. The courtyard is intact, with no sign of the epic battle that took place minutes before. The hundreds of Yako that surrounded the place have vanished. In the center of the courtyard, seated side by side on the dew-damp grass, are the two sisters. Tenko, in her giant white fox form, gently licks the head of the black Kitsune, who has now taken the form of a smaller fox, with black fur but white ear tips, indicating a purification process has begun. Kuro no longer seems furious, she looks tired, vulnerable, like a child who has finally stopped crying. Upon seeing you and Kenji, Tenko rises and assumes her human form again. Her white kimono is torn, her hair disheveled, but her eyes shine with a profound peace. You did what even I couldn't, she says, bowing respectfully before you. You showed her that humanity deserves a second chance. Not because they are perfect, but because they are capable of learning. Kuro approaches, still in fox form, but speaking directly to your mind. Her voice is no longer a chorus of lamentations, but a hoarse, timid whisper. I saw, she says. I saw the samurai protecting the weak. I saw you offering your own life without hesitation. Perhaps I was too quick to judge everyone for the mistake of a few. She looks at the horizon, where the sun begins to rise, painting the sky pink and gold. I withdraw my army. The Yako will return to the shadows. There will be no war today. Kenji releases the breath he didn't even realize he was holding, his shoulders relaxing for the first time in days. Thank you, he murmurs, bowing deeply to both Tenko and the Black Fox. In the name of the Emperor and all the people of Japan, thank you. Tenko smiles, but there's a subtle sadness in her gaze. Peace was bought, but the price was high. My sister was banished from her darkness, and I'm exhausted. My time as an active guardian is coming to an end. The world has changed. Humans no longer need us fighting their battles physically. They need to remember on their own. She looks at you. The mirror stone is safe. The seal has been reinforced with your soul, mortal. As long as you live, the balance will be maintained. But when you depart, the responsibility will be theirs. She points to the valley below, where the first lights of the village begin to ignite, oblivious to the apocalypse that was averted at the mountaintop. Dawn has arrived, says Kuro, rising. And with it, our paths diverge. I'm going to the deep north, where few humans tread, to heal my wounds far from the temptation of revenge. My sister, she will stay here, but only as an observer. Tenko nods. I've become a legend again. And legends don't interfere, they only inspire. She takes a step toward you, and for a brief moment, you feel the familiar warmth of her 9 tails enveloping you in a final embrace. You carry a fragment of the mirror within you now. Never forget what you saw there. The line between light and shadow is thin, and it's up to you humans to decide which side to walk on. The sun breaks completely across the horizon, bathing the sanctuary in pure gold. The shadows flee, not out of fear, but because the light has invited them to rest. Go, says Tenko, her form beginning to become translucent, merging with the morning light. Return to your lives. Tell your story, if you wish. But know that most won't believe you. And perhaps that's for the best. Mystery protects magic. Kenji places his hand on your shoulder. Let's go down. The village needs to know you're safe. And I need a lot of sake. You look one last time at the 2 divine foxes. They are almost invisible now, part of the landscape, part of the myth. Until never again, you ask. Tenko's voice echoes in the morning wind, never say never. As long as there is a forest, a full moon, and a heart willing to believe, we will be there. You and Kenji begin the long descent down the staircase of 1,000 red gates. The path seems different now. The torii gates are no longer just painted wood, they seem to vibrate with life. The birds sing louder. The air smells of pine and freedom. But as you descend, a strange feeling takes hold of you. A slight dizziness. As if something is fading in your mind. The colors of last night's memory begin to lose their saturation. Tenko's face, Kuro's voice, the sensation of the mirror, everything begins to seem like a distant dream, difficult to hold onto. You stop, startled. Kenji, you call. Do you remember exactly what they said? Kenji stops, frowning, confused. They saved us. Yes. But the details, it's all becoming hazy. Like trying to remember a dream when you wake up. You realize with a pang in your heart, this is Tenko's last gift. For the magic to survive, it must become myth again. And for the myth to work, the witnesses must forget the literal truth, leaving only the lesson. You are forgetting. And soon, no one will remember. Except the forest. Come on, says Kenji, shaking his head as if to clear the fog. We need to get down there before the sun gets too high. You continue down, holding tightly to the only thing that still seems real, the certainty in your chest that the world is more magical and dangerous than anyone imagines. But the further you walk, the less you can remember their names. Chapter 8, The Fading of Divine Memory. The descent down the staircase of 1,000 red gates grows increasingly strange. It is not the body that fails, its legs are strong, its lungs full of the fresh morning air. It is the mind. It is as if an invisible eraser were gently passing over the most vivid pages of its book of memories. You try to cling to the details. You try to visualize Tenko's face, the ancient wisdom in her golden eyes, the exact texture of her tattered white kimono. But the image slips away. When you close your eyes to see her, all you can capture is a blur of white light and the vague sensation of nine tails swaying, shapeless. Kenji, you say, your voice trembling. Try to remember. What was the name of the black fox? The one we convinced to stop? The samurai walks beside you, his hand on the hilt of his sword, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. He frowns, a line of confusion marking his sweaty brow. Black fox, he murmurs, testing the words in the language as if they were foreign. There was darkness. A fury. We fought. There was fire in the river. But the name, the face, is like smoke in the wind. He stops abruptly, turning to you with an expression of restrained panic. I remember fighting for something important. I remember my life was at risk. I remember you did something heroic at the sanctuary. But the divine details? The voices of the goddesses? Gone. You feel a chill down your spine that has nothing to do with the mountain breeze. This is the Kitsune's ultimate magic. To protect the human world from the overwhelming burden of divine truth, they removed the explicit memory of the event. If humans clearly remembered conversing face to face with gods, seeing reality bend, they would either go mad with arrogance, trying to control this power, or fall into blind and destructive worship. The mystery must remain a mystery. Faith requires doubt. It's the price, you whisper, finally understanding Tenko's words. Legends don't interfere, they only inspire. For the legend to live, the witness must forget the fact. As you continue to descend, the landscape changes. The sacred forest gives way to charcoal trails, then to cultivated rice fields, and finally to the first houses of the village at the base of the mountain. The sun is already high in the sky. The day seems normal. People carry baskets of vegetables, children chase after rag balls, dogs bark at butterflies. No one knows that, just a few hours ago, the end of the world was negotiated on the peak of that mountain. No one knows that an army of fox demons retreated to the shadows of the north. As they enter the village, a group of villagers rush toward Kenji. They seem relieved, weeping with joy. Samurai! You're alive, shouts an old farmer, holding Kenji's hands. Last night, it was terrible. Black lightning, blood-curdling howls, the river seemed to be on fire. We thought it was the end. But then, at dawn, everything vanished. It calmed down as if by a miracle. Kenji looks at you, then at the farmer. He tries to talk about the battle, about the two giant foxes, about the sacrifice at the shrine. But the words die in his throat. When he opens his mouth, what comes out is different from what he planned to say. Yes, it was a strange storm, says Kenji, sounding uncertain. But it passed. The danger is gone. It was just nature showing its strength. You watch, with a pang in your chest, as Kenji himself, your companion on the journey, begins to rationalize the supernatural. Your mind is filling in the gaps left by forgetfulness with logical explanations: storm, collective hallucination, luck. And you? You try to tell your part. You try to say, it wasn't a storm. It was the black Kitsune. It was Tenko. I touched the mirror. But when you speak, the words seem fragile, childish. They sound like a fairy tale invented on the spot. The villagers smile with pity, thinking the fright affected your mind. Of course, says a woman, patting you on the shoulder. You too went through a lot of fear. Come, eat something warm. The nightmare is over. You eat the soup they offer you. It's delicious, real, earthy. But inside you, there's a void. A locked vault where you kept the most important truth of your life, and the key has been thrown away. You remember feeling that something big happened. You feel the awe, the fear, the hope. You feel that you've changed forever. But you can't access the how or the why. It's like waking from a beautiful and sad dream, knowing it was meaningful, but unable to recall the plot. However, one thing hasn't disappeared. As you walk through the village, you notice details you would have previously ignored. You see a small Inari shrine on a street corner, with two statues of foxes wearing red bibs. Normally, you would walk right past. Today, you stop. You kneel before the statues. Not because someone told you to. Not out of blind superstition. But because you feel, deep within your being, a connection. An inexplicable gratitude. You take some rice from your pocket, leftovers from lunch, and gently place it before the stone paws. Thank you, you whisper, without knowing exactly why. A gentle breeze lifts your hair. For a second, just a second, you think you hear a familiar, feminine, ancient laugh, full of affection. And you see, out of the corner of your eye, the flash of a white tail disappearing behind a roof. But when you turn your head, there's nothing. Just an orange cat sleeping in the sun. Kenji approaches, placing his hand on your shoulder. He, too, seems to have lost the internal struggle. He has accepted the mist. You know, he says, looking at the statues with a newfound respect. I think we should be grateful. Whatever happened yesterday, something protected us. Something greater than ourselves. Yes, you agree, standing up. Something greater. You decide to stay in the village for a few days to help rebuild the minor damage caused by the storm. As you work, you notice subtle changes in people's behavior. They seem kinder to one another. Farmers offer more food to travelers. Children treat animals with more care. It's as if the energy of resolution at the mountaintop has seeped down, touching human hearts without them knowing its origin. Tenko's lesson and Kuro's redemption haven't been erased, they've been translated into empathy. On the third night, you dream again. This time, it's not a hazy dream. It's clear. You're back in the illusory mansion. The nine-tailed Kitsune is sitting at the table, serving fried tofu. She smiles, and this time, you don't forget that smile when you wake up. You don't need to remember names to carry the truth, she says in the dream. Memory is human. Impact is eternal. When you wake up, you cry. Not from sadness, but from overwhelming clarity. You know you'll never see Tenko physically again. You know the official story will be the great storm that passed. But you carry the secret in the silence of your actions. You decide that when you return home, you will tell a story. Not as a historical fact, but as a fable. A story about a fox who taught humans to look back before moving forward. And perhaps, by telling this story, other people will feel that same shiver, that same silent connection with nature. The myth continues, not in history books, but in the hearts of those who chose to respect it. Kenji prepares his things to leave. He will report to his lord that the region is safe, attributing the victory to the bravery of the soldiers and the protection of the generic kami. It's better this way. Where are you going now? He asks, adjusting his armor. You look at the road leading out of the village, towards the vast and unknown world. I'm going to travel, you reply. I want to see other forests. I want to see if there are guardians in other places too, waiting to be remembered, even if we can't see them. Kenji smiles, a smile of true camaraderie. Then our paths part here, friend. But if one day you hear a whistle in the forest or see a strange light in the rice paddy, remember to be kind. We might be being watched. He bows deeply. You return the bow. As he rides south, you begin to walk east. The sun shines, the birds sing. The world seems ordinary. But for you, every leaf, every ray of sunlight, every shadow carries a hidden meaning. You know the truth. And that's enough. But as you walk, you notice something curious. Your shadow, cast by the morning sun, seems to have a slightly different shape. For a moment, as you pass a wheat field, your shadow appears to have not 2 legs, but 4 paws, and behind it, 9 long, flowing tails dance on the ground. You stop and look down. The shadow returns to normal, human. You smile. Perhaps you haven't forgotten everything. Perhaps a fragment of magic has merged with your own soul, becoming part of who you are. You continue to walk, now not just as a human, but as a silent guardian. A storyteller. A protector of the veil. And somewhere, deep in a distant forest, a fox with black fur and white tips raises its head, sniffs the air, and smiles, sensing that somewhere in the world, someone still remembers, even without knowing what. The balance has been maintained. The story continues. Chapter 9, The Guardian of the Invisible Veil. The years pass like seasons in a rice field, the vibrant green of spring gives way to the golden hues of autumn, and then to the silent white of winter. You have walked through many provinces, crossed turbulent rivers, and climbed mountains that touched the clouds. Your boots are worn, your face marked by sun and wind, but your eyes retain that attentive glint, that focus that sees beyond the obvious. You are no longer the frightened traveler who entered the illusory mansion that distant night. You have become something different. Something necessary. In each village where you stop, you tell the story. Not as a factual account that would require proof, but as an ancient fable, whispered near the campfire under the curious gaze of children and the gentle skepticism of adults. Once upon a time, you begin, your voice calm and rhythmic, there was a fox that had 9 tails and feet that pointed backward, to remind us to look to our past before taking the next step. Sometimes people laugh, calling it a lullaby to scare disobedient children. Other times, an old man in the corner of the room becomes very quiet, his eyes fixed on the fire, as if a dormant memory has been awakened by your words. In those moments, you know, the seed has been planted. The veil has been slightly lifted. You have noticed that your presence has a strange effect on nature. Wherever you go, animals seem less fearful. Wild foxes are seen on the edges of villages, not stealing chickens, but merely observing, as if recognizing an old ally. Violent storms seem to change course when you are near, or necessary rains fall precisely on parched fields after your visit. It's not that you have visible magical powers. It's that you have learned to live with magic, not against it. Walk softly. Ask permission from the trees before breaking a branch to make a fire. Leave a small offering of rice or tofu at forgotten rural shrines. And, above all, teach others to do the same. One day, in a small fishing village on the east coast, you find a young fisherman about to set sail with a new net, made of finer threads than permitted, capable of catching even the smallest fish, destroying the future of the local stock. Wait, you say, holding his arm. That net is greedy. It catches everything, leaving nothing to grow. The sea will collect this debt. The young man laughs impatiently. The sea is vast, old man. It doesn't miss a few small fish. I need to feed my family today. You don't argue. You don't threaten. You just tell the story. You tell about the black Kitsune who wanted to destroy the world because humans forgot the balance. You tell about Tenko who saved humanity not with force, but by showing that change is possible. Nature isn't an infinite vault, you whisper. It's a mirror. If you take too much, the reflection breaks. And when the mirror breaks, whoever looks into it gets cut. The young man hesitates. There's something in your voice, in the intensity of your gaze, that makes him stop. He looks at the net, then at the calm sea outside. Slowly, he unties the knots that made the mesh so fine. Maybe you're right, he murmurs, embarrassed. Better to ensure there are fish for my grandchildren than to fill the boat today. That night, as you sleep in the village inn, you dream again. This time, there is no dialogue. You see only a vast nocturnal forest, illuminated by thousands of floating blue lights, the Kitsunebi. They dance in harmony, forming intricate patterns that tell stories of centuries past. In the center, two figures sit side by side, one white as the moon, the other black as midnight, but with silver tips. They do not look at you, they gaze at the horizon, vigilant. Upon waking, you find, on the bedside table where there was nothing before, a single strand of fur. It is long, soft, and shines with a color that shifts between gold and silver depending on the angle of the light. You smile, carefully placing it in a small silk pouch around your neck. It is silent confirmation. We are watching. We are proud. Your journey becomes legendary, though your name is quickly forgotten after your departure. People remember the fox traveler, the man who told stories that made the heart ache with responsibility and light with hope. In some villages, they build small, informal shrines in her honor, placing a simple, nameless stone beside the Inari statues, merely as a marker of passage. But the true test comes decades later, when you are an old man, your hair white as the snow of the northern mountains, your steps slow and cautious. You return to the village where it all began. That place at the base of Mist Mountain, where you and Kenji descended after saving the world. The village has changed. New houses have been built, roads widened. But the shrine on the hilltop is still there, preserved, cared for with devotion by subsequent generations. Upon entering the village, you notice something extraordinary. The children are not afraid of the dark forest at night. The hunters report that, when they respect the boundaries and make offerings, they find abundant game. The farmers say that pests avoid their crops if they leave a part of the field untouched for the spirits. The pact has been kept. Not out of fear of monsters, but out of conscious respect. Tenko's lesson and Kuro's sacrifice germinated and grew, transforming the local culture. You walk to the small Inari shrine at the village entrance. The fox statues are weathered by time, covered in moss, but their red bibs have recently been replaced, vibrant and new. You kneel, your bones cracking, and place your hands together in prayer. You ask for nothing. You only give thanks. Thank you, you whisper to the still air. You fulfilled your part. We tried to fulfill ours. A sudden breeze sweeps across the courtyard, lifting dry leaves in a dancing whirlwind. Amidst the leaves, you see fleeting shapes, a white fox, a black one, and several smaller ones, all running and playing before dissolving into the wind. And then, a familiar voice, young and old at the same time, echoes in your mind, clear as crystal. The story isn't over, old friend. It has simply passed into the next hands. You were the bridge. Now, rest. You close your eyes, feeling a deep, complete peace. Your mission is finished. The veil is safe. The world continues, imperfect, but conscious. You rise slowly, leaning on your staff. It's time to find a quiet place to spend your last days. Perhaps near a river where foxes come to drink at dusk. As you leave the sanctuary, a group of children run towards you, their eyes shining with curiosity. Tell the story, they demand, tugging at your clothes. Tell the story of the nine-tailed fox. You smile, sitting on a stone bench beneath an old cherry tree. Very well, you say, adjusting your narrative voice. Once upon a time, on a night when the sun was raining. And as you speak, the shadows of the trees seem to lean in to listen, and high in the branches, pairs of bright eyes watch, silently approving the transmission of the myth. The wheel turns. The story lives. And the guardian, at last, can rest. Chapter 10, The Eternal Twilight of the Foxes. The wind blows softly through the branches of the ancient cherry tree, scattering pink petals over his white hair and onto the knees of the children surrounding him. His voice, though hoarse with age, carries the same magic that once calmed goddesses and monsters. The children listen, mesmerized, his eyes reflecting the imaginary flames of the story. And so, you conclude, lowering your voice to a conspiratorial whisper, the black fox learned that revenge does not bring back what was lost, but hope can build something new. And since then, they watch in the shadows, not to punish us, but to remind us of who we are. The children are silent for a moment, absorbing the weight of the fable. Then, one of them, a small girl with undone braids, raises her hand timidly. "Are they still there?" she asks, looking at the dark edge of the forest that begins just beyond the last rooftops of the village. "The white fox and the black fox?" You smile, a smile that reaches your eyes, illuminating your wrinkled face. "Always," you reply. "But they only appear to those who know how to look. To those who respect the silence among the trees and understand that not everything that shines is fire, and not everything that is dark is evil." At that moment, as if answering your call, a subtle movement catches everyone's attention. At the edge of the twilight light, where the shadows begin to lengthen, two figures briefly appear. They are not human. They are elegant, fluid. One has fur as white as fresh snow, shining with its own light. The other is as black as a starless night, but with the tips of its ears and tail tinged with silver. They do not approach. They only observe. Their eyes meet yours across the distance. There is a profound recognition, a silent exchange of gratitude that spans decades of separation. The children gasp, pointing. "Look! Foxes! They're giants! They're the ones from the story!" But before they can run toward them, the two figures dissolve into golden mist, mingling with the sunset light filtering through the leaves. They are gone, leaving only the certainty that they were there. The little girl turns to you, amazed. "They came to hear you. They came to see if we remember," you correct gently. "And they saw that we do." The sun touches the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange, purple, and gold, the colors of Kitsune no Yomiuri, the fox wedding. The air is still, sacred. It's the exact moment between day and night, the twilight where the veil between worlds is thinnest. You feel your body lighten. The weariness of a lifetime of travel, of internal battles, of keeping secrets that no one else remembered, begins to dissipate. It's not the painful end that humans fear, it's a return. An integration. Kenji left many years ago, living a long and honorable life, dying peacefully in his bed, perhaps dreaming of blue lights on the river. You have walked alone since then, but you have never truly been alone. Now, the journey comes to its natural end. The children begin to yawn, the enchantment of the story giving way to sleep. The parents come to pick them up, thanking you for the tales, calling you wise grandfather, unaware that they are speaking to the man who held the fate of the world in his own hands. You rise slowly, leaning on your staff. "Go home," you say. "Sweet dreams. And remember, be kind to any foxes you encounter." As the families walk away, laughing and chatting, you remain under the cherry tree. Night falls completely. The first stars appear, cold and distant. But here, on the forest floor, other lights begin to ignite. Small blue flames, Kitsunebi, emerge from among the tree roots. They dance, circling you, warming your aged body with a heat that doesn't burn, but revitalizes. From them, forms begin to materialize. Not just the two sisters, but dozens, hundreds of foxes of all colors and sizes. Some small and mischievous, others majestic and ancient. All silent, all reverent. Tenko, in her radiant human form, steps forward. Beside her, Kuro, now fully integrated with the light, without a trace of hatred, only serene wisdom. "Welcome home," Tenko says, extending her hand. "Your watch is over, guardian. The myth is safe in the mouths of children. Balance is safe in the hearts of men." Kuro smiles, and for the first time in 1,000 years, his smile is free of cynicism. "You were the bridge we promised would exist. Thank you for not letting the gap open." You look at your own hands. They are changing. The wrinkled skin is becoming smooth, but not youthful like a human's. It is being covered in a fine, soft fur, white as the moon. Your senses expand. You can hear the grass growing, the fluttering of a moth's wings miles away, the flow of sap in the trees. There is no pain in the transformation. Only an overwhelming sense of belonging. You are not dying, you are ascending. Becoming part of the very legend you have told for so long. "I am ready," you whisper, or perhaps it is a soft howl echoing in the minds of all the foxes present. Tenko and Kuro place their hands on your shoulders. The blue flames intensify, enveloping you in a column of pure light. "Come," says Tenko. "There are new stories to tell, new balances to maintain. And this time, you will have us by your side, not as servants, but as brothers." the light rises, carrying you upwards, beyond the treetops, to the realm where time doesn't run linearly, but in a spiral. Down below, the village sleeps peacefully. Children dream of talking foxes. The shrines glow faintly in the darkness. The world continues, unaware of your departure, but benefiting from your existence. And so, the last human guardian disappears into the mists of legend, becoming eternal. They say that on full moon nights, if you walk silently through the deep forest and leave an offering of fried tofu, you might see 3 foxes sitting together on an ancient stone, one white as snow, one black as night, and a third, with silver fur and eyes reminiscent of human kindness, telling stories to the stars. They are the eternal guardians. The masters of illusion that became truth. Their lesson remains, etched in the wind and water: look back before you move forward. Respect the invisible. And know that, even when we forget the names of the gods, they never forget us. The fox's fire dances in the rice paddy. The myth lives on. This story comes from traditional Japanese folklore legends, honoring the complex duality of Kitsune as messengers of Inari and wild nature spirits. If it touched you, comment, what ancestral lesson about the balance between humanity and nature do you take from this journey to your life today?